who's actually the most powerful character in Lord of the Rings? If you only watch the movies, you'd think it's a close fight between Gandalf and the Witch King. Or maybe Sauron is unbeatable. But the movies lie about power levels constantly. Gandalf isn't even close to the strongest Maiar. The Witch King would lose to dozens of characters. And Sauron? He's not even in the top tier. Today, I'm ranking every major character in Middle-earth by their true power, according to Tolkien's books. Some of these rankings will shock you. Some will make you angry, but they're all backed by the actual lore. Let's start at the top and work our way down. S tier is reserved for the true gods of Middle-earth being so powerful they shaped reality itself. At the absolute top is Eru-Ilúvatar, the one god. He created everything through music. When Númenor tried to invade Valinor, he didn't send armies, he just reshaped the entire world. He made the world round, sank an entire continent, and removed the Undying Lands from physical reality. No one else even comes close. Below him are the Valar, essentially archangels, who govern Middle-earth. Manwë is the king of the Valar, lord of wind and sky. Ulmo controls all waters and can communicate through every stream and river. But the strongest Vala in raw combat is Tolkas, the Valiant. He wrestled Melkor, the original Dark Lord, into submission with his bare hands. No weapon, no magic, just pure strength. And then there's Melkor, later called Morgoth. Before his corruption, he was the mightiest of all the Valar. Even after pouring most of his power into corrupting Middle-earth, it took all the other Valar combined to defeat him. Sauron? He was Morgoth's servant. Not even in the same league. The Valar could unmake mountains with a thought. They're not characters, they're forces of nature. No one in Lord of the Rings can touch S tier. A tier is where the Maiar live angelic beings sent to Middle-earth as servants of the Valar. This is where it gets controversial. Let's start with Sauron. Yes, he's the main villain. Yes, he's terrifying. But people massively overestimate his power. With the One Ring, Sauron is top of A tier, nearly unstoppable. He could dominate entire armies mentally, corrupt the strongest wills, and his physical form was nearly indestructible. Without the ring, mid-A tier at best. When he fought the Last Alliance, at the end of the Second Age, he had the ring and still lost. Elendil and Gil-galad, two mortal warriors, brought him down. They died doing it, but they won. By the Third Age, Sauron is even weaker. He can't even take physical form anymore. He's a giant flaming eye stuck in a tower. Now, let's talk about Gandalf. The movies make Gandalf look weak compared to Sauron. That's completely wrong. Gandalf is Olorin, one of the wisest Maiar in Valinor. Before coming to Middle-earth, he walked among the Valar as an equal. The Valar themselves say he was wiser than Saruman. But here's the key. The Istari are nerfed. When the wizards were sent to Middle-earth, they were placed in old men's bodies and had most of their power locked away. They're not allowed to dominate through force, only to inspire and guide. Gandalf the Grey is probably lower A tier because he's so restricted. But Gandalf the White? High A tier. After he defeats the Balrog and is sent back, his restrictions are partially lifted. He's now the White Saruman's replacement and the true leader of the Istari. In this form, Gandalf breaks the Witch King's sword with a word. He drives off the Nazgul with a blast of light. The movie scene where his staff breaks never happened. The Witch King couldn't touch him. The Balrogs are also A tier. Durin's Bane, the Balrog of Moria, is a Maiar who served Morgoth. It takes Gandalf 10 days of constant fighting to kill it, and he dies in the process. That tells you how powerful Balrogs are. In the First Age, there were multiple Balrogs, and they slaughtered elf lords by the dozen. Only the greatest heroes could stand against them. Saruman is also A tier, at least originally. Saruman the White was the head of the Istari and Gandalf's superior. He studied the arts of the enemy and became a master of voice, a form of mind control. But by the time of Lord of the Rings, he's corrupted and weakened. He's dropped to B tier by the end. And finally, the other wizards. Radagast, and the 2 blue wizards. They're all Maiar, so they're all A tier by default. We just don't know much about their deeds. A tier is the realm of angels and demons. Everything below this is mortal. B tier is where we find the most powerful mortals and legendary creatures. These beings can challenge Maiar under the right circumstances, but they're not angels. Let's start with the Witch King of Angmar. The movies make him seem nearly unstoppable. He's terrifying, yes, but he's not that powerful. The Witch King is a Nazgul, a human king corrupted by one of the 9 rings. He's been transformed into a wraith, making him immortal and immune to normal weapons. But he's still fundamentally mortal. His greatest feat is breaking the gates of Minas Tirith. Impressive, sure, but compare that to Maiar, who reshape landscapes. And here's what the movies won't tell you. The Witch King is terrified of Gandalf. In the book, when Gandalf confronts him at the gate, the Witch King hesitates. He doesn't attack, he waits. The only reason the confrontation ends is because the horns of Rohan blow and he has to leave. The Witch King is powerful by mortal standards, but he's B tier at best. Now let's talk about Galadriel. Galadriel is one of the oldest and mightiest elves still in Middle-earth. She was born in Valinor in the years of the trees, before the sun and moon even existed. She's not just powerful, she's ancient. By the 3rd Age, she's over 8,000 years old. Her power is so great that she can hold off Sauron's mental attacks on Lothlorien. Dol Guldur launches assaults on the forest 3 times, and she repels them all. When Frodo offers her the ring, she shows him a vision of what she would become. A dark queen as terrible as Sauron. Not his servant, his equal. That puts her firmly in B tier. Elrond is also B tier. He's half-elven, descended from Beren and Luthien, and he carries the blood of all 3 kindreds, elves, men, and Maiar. He fought in the Last Alliance and saw Sauron fall. His power is more subtle, healing, foresight, wisdom, but he's one of the few who can stand in the presence of the Nazgul without fear. Glorfindel is another B tier elf. In the First Age, Glorfindel fought and killed a Balrog in single combat and died doing it. But the Valar sent him back to Middle-earth because he was so noble. By the Third Age, he's one of the most powerful elves alive. When the Nazgul chase Frodo to the ford of Brunnen, Glorfindel's mere presence drives them back. They're terrified of him. The movies replaced him with Arwen because reasons. And then there are the dragons. Smaug is the last great dragon, and he's solidly B tier. He destroyed the dwarf kingdom of Erebor single-handedly, and his scales are nearly impenetrable. But Smaug is weak compared to the dragons of the First Age. And Calagon, the Black, Morgoth's greatest dragon, was so massive that when he fell, he destroyed an entire mountain range. It took Eärendil flying on a magical ship with a Silmaril to bring him down. Glaurung, the father of dragons, could dominate minds and lay curses that lasted generations. These dragons are peak B tier, just below the Maiar. B tier is where legends live. They're the mightiest beings who are still technically mortal. C tier is where we find the greatest mortal heroes. These are warriors and leaders who can change the course of battles, but they're not quite legendary yet. Aragorn is the king of C tier. As a Dúnedain ranger and heir of Elendil, Aragorn has Númenórean blood, which makes him stronger, faster, and longer lived than normal men. He lives to be 210 years old. He can track enemies across barren stone. He fought in countless wars under different names for decades. But here's what makes him truly powerful: his will. Aragorn looks into the Palantir and challenges Sauron directly. He dominates the Seeing Stone through sheer force of will and right of kingship. Sauron sees him and panics. He thinks Aragorn has the ring. That's not physical power. That's spiritual strength. But in a straight fight, Aragorn is still mortal. He's peak C tier, but he can't fight dragons or Balrogs alone. Legolas is also C tier. As a Sindarin elf and Prince of Mirkwood, Legolas has thousands of years of combat experience. He never misses with a bow. He can run across snow without leaving footprints. But compared to elves like Glorfindel or Galadriel, he's young, skilled, but not legendary. Boromir is C tier as well. Before the ring corrupted him, Boromir was the greatest warrior of Gondor. He held Osgiliath almost single-handedly. Even while dying, he killed dozens of Uruk-hai, protecting Merry and Pippin. His tragedy is that he's human. He doesn't have Aragorn's Númenórean blood or centuries of experience, but he's still one of the greatest warriors of his age. Éomer and Éowyn are both C tier. Éomer is Marshal of the Riddermark and one of Rohan's greatest riders. Éowyn kills the Witch King, but she has help from Merry, and the Witch King is caught off guard. It's a legendary moment, but it doesn't make her B tier. And then there are elves like Celeborn and Thranduil, ancient, powerful, but not at Galadriel's level. C tier characters are the heroes of the age. They're the ones who actually fight the wars and win the battles. D tier is where we find skilled warriors, fighters who are well above average but not quite heroic. Gimli is a perfect example. As a dwarf, Gimli is naturally stronger and more durable than most men. He's a master with an axe and has centuries of combat training. But the movies do him dirty. They turn him into comic relief. In the books, Gimli is a warrior poet who can fight for days without tiring. He's D tier because, while he's skilled, he doesn't have the supernatural advantages of elves or Dúnedain. Faramir is also D tier. He's a captain of Gondor, a ranger of Ithilien, and Boromir's younger brother. He's wise, skilled, and noble. But he's not at Boromir or Aragorn's level in combat. The movies make him weaker. They have him tempted by the ring and dragging Frodo to Osgiliath. In the books, he rejects the ring immediately. His strength is his wisdom, not his sword arm. Théoden is D tier as well. When he's free from Saruman's corruption, Théoden is a great king and a skilled rider. He leads the charge at Pelennor Fields, and his death is heroic. But he's old. He's not at his physical peak. He's a leader more than a warrior by this point. Elite soldiers, Gondorian guards, Rohirrim, Elven, warriors are all D tier. They're professional fighters with years of training, but they're not heroes with names. D tier is where competence lives. These are the soldiers who hold the line. E tier is where most fighters actually are. This includes regular soldiers, orcs, Uruk-hai, and anyone who's trained but not exceptional. Uruk-hai are E tier. Yes, they're bred for war. Yes, they're stronger than regular orcs, but they're still just soldiers. A single Uruk-hai loses to Aragorn, Legolas, or Gimli every time. They're dangerous in numbers, but individually, E tier. Regular orcs and goblins are also E tier. They're cannon fodder. Weak, cowardly, and poorly armed. The only reason they're a threat is because Sauron has millions of them. Gollum is E tier. He survived for 500 years because of the ring, but in a fight, he's weak. Frodo and Sam overpower him multiple times. E tier is where most combat happens. It's the rank and file soldiers fighting the wars. And finally, F tier. This is where we find non-combatants, hobbits, farmers, merchants, and anyone who's never held a sword. Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin all start here. Hobbits are not warriors. They're small, peaceful, and avoid conflict. But by the end of the trilogy, they've grown. Merry and Pippin become soldiers, probably low D tier by the end. Sam fights off Shelob, maybe E tier. But Frodo, he never becomes a fighter. His strength isn't physical, it's spiritual. He resists the ring longer than anyone else could. That's not power you can rank on a tier list. F tier isn't about weakness, it's about not being built for combat. And that's okay. Not everyone needs to be a warrior. So there you have it, the real power levels of Middle-earth. The gods who shape reality. Angels and demons. Legends who can challenge angels. Heroes who change the course of history. Skilled warriors who hold the line. Average soldiers. Civilians. Now, I know some of you are going to disagree with these rankings. That's the point. Drop a comment and tell me where I'm wrong. Let's debate. If you want me to go deeper on any of these characters, Galadriel's true power, why the Balrog is so strong, how Aragorn dominated Sauron through the Palantir, let me know. And if you learned something new today, hit that subscribe button. I've got more deep dives coming that'll blow your mind. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.